I don't see her. Let me just double check the list to make sure she didn't end up on the TV side. I do not see her.
Okay,
I'll go ahead and shoot her a message. Okay.
not a problem.
Okay.
Well, welcome everyone. I am Cindy Kaufman. I am part of the ADRC in San Francisco. I'm so glad everybody is joining us. I'm very excited about the meeting today. We've got a lot of good stuff to go through. So let's see. I want to make sure everybody's gotten everything that they need. This includes all the meeting materials, which is the agenda, the minutes from the prior meeting, the committee charter, and some proposed revisions that we have, the committee's work plan, the final draft, and then the ADRC mission, vision, and values presentation that we will have in the latter half of this meeting. Really want, and we've been working on encouraging and creating space for people to truly participate in this meeting. And I know sometimes it's harder when you're on Zoom and feeling like it's hard to interrupt the people in the room, but please feel free. For right now, if you shoot up a hand, until I log in, I cannot see your hand. So please feel free to say, excuse me, and because we do want everybody to be able to participate in this. And then I think that's it for the very beginning here. And I will turn it over to Wilson for you to introduce yourself, and then general housekeeping rules, and talk slowly so I can see if I can log in.
Got it. Buy you some time. Hi, everyone. My name is Wilson Tam. I'm with the California Department of Aging. I lead our person-centered navigation branch, which includes ADRC and our health insurance counseling and advocacy program, HICAP for short. And I will go through some general housekeeping items. Just note that the meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be posted onto our CDA ADRC website and our YouTube page. For those attending in person, we ask that if you can mute your laptops to avoid any audio feedback during the recording. Accessibility. Closed captioning is available and can be accessed by clicking the closed captioning of the CC button on the Zoom toolbar. We do have ASL interpreters in the meeting today, American Sign Language interpreters in the meeting today. If you need this service, please click the interpretation button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you need assistance at any time, you may email adrc@aging.ca.gov. This mailbox is being monitored by one of our team members. During the meeting, we ask all attendees to remain muted unless presenting or called upon by our chairs, Cindy Kaufman and Letty Zuno, to speak. To let us know who's speaking, please let us know your name. Start off with your full name. For those that are attending by Zoom, we encourage you to use your raise hand function and unmute when called upon to speak. And then for those dialing in by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. And then when called upon, press *6 to be unmuted. There is a public comment period at the end of our meeting for non-committee members to speak. So feel free to take advantage of that opportunity at the end. And last but not least, the chat and Q&A function can be used to communicate questions with the host, which is our CDA team members. Maybe I'll turn it back to you, and you'll probably turn it back to me for roll call.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it back to you.
Did I buy enough time for you, by the way?
I'm sorry, what? No,
Did I buy enough
I'm
time?
still working on
it. Just spoke slower.
So yeah, if you would, I will turn it back over to you for roll call, and then hopefully I will be.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to conduct roll calls. I'm going to call out the names, and I'll ask each member to tell us your title and your affiliation. Starting with our Independent Living Center, or ILC representatives, we have 4. Starting with Armin Dimani. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, it's Damani, D-A-M-A-N, but yes. Hi, Armin Damani with Marin Center for Independent Living. I am manager for Aging and Disability Resource Connection at the Marin CIL. And What else did you want me to say?
I think that's it. Feel free to share any other information, but I think that's the
The
bit
second
of
meeting today and first time in person, so
welcome, Armin.
thank you.
Next, alphabetical order, we have Larry Grable from the Service Center for Independent Life. He did express his regrets he won't be able to make it today. Third, we have Letty Zuno. Do we have Letty with us yet, team?
I don't see her. I've resent her panelist slate and we reached out.
When Letty shows up, we'll go ahead and introduce her. And last but not least, Lisa Hayes. No, Lisa, okay. For our Area Agency on Aging or AAA representatives, we also have 4. Alphabetical order, starting with Cindy Kaufman. Sorry.
Present, that's okay.
Next, we have Joe Cobry. And third, we have Liz Pastrell.
Hi, I'm Liz Pascal. I'm a program manager at Agency on Aging Area 4 in the ADRC Case Management Department.
Thank you, Liz. And last, we have Pam Arnsberger.
I'm from the Seniors Council of Santa Cruz and San Benito counties.
Thank you, Pam. Next, we have our 5 lived experience representatives, starting with Carl Sigmund.
Good morning, Carl. Operations manager up at part of 2 agent officers. Good to be with you.
Good morning, Carl Sigmund, Operations Manager up at Freed, part of 2 ADRCs. Good to be with you.
Thank you, Carl. Next, we have Carol Leish.
Good morning, Carol Leish from Ventura. Hope everyone's having a good day.
Thank you, Carol. Next, we have Erin Crutcher.
Morning, Erin Crutcher, lived experience representative, and I am based here in Orange County. Good morning and looking forward to our meeting today.
Thank you, Erin. Next, we have Partha Mahapatra.
Good morning. I'm Partha Mahapatra. I'm on a wheelchair and I work as a professor in California State University.
Thank you, Partha. And last but not least, we have William Reed. Okay, no William at this time. For our last, we have our long-term services and supports, LTSS representatives. We have a total of 6, starting with Abby Pasqua from Aging Next. She did also express her regrets. She won't be able to make it to this meeting. Second, we have Kelly Takasu.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Takasu. I'm the Public Policy Manager at Alzheimer's Los Angeles.
Thank you, Kelly. Next, we have Melissa Jacobs.
Melissa Jacobs, Deputy Director from Sacramento County Senior Adult Services.
Thank you, Melissa. Next, we have Ramon Costablanc.
Ramon Costablanc, could you remind me what my affiliation is?
You're our LTSS representative.
Very good, LTSS representative.
Good job.
Yeah.
Next, we have Rita Sayans. Oh, she did express her absence today. So Rita is from AARP California, as well as on the advisory board of the Agency on Aging Area 4. Last but not least, we have Sherry Raisler. Okay. Going forward to our ex officio members, starting in alphabetical order based on acronym C4A, California Association of Area Agencies on Aging. Christina Mills did express that she would be absent. I think later on team, we're expecting Lee Poland.
Oh, he's here. He's at.
Oh, he is, okay.
8:30, So I'll promote you here to
Got it. Lee, just give us 1 second. We're gonna go ahead and put you in the meeting. So you can introduce yourself.
Thank you. I was promoted. So good morning, everybody. Lee Pullen representing C4A today. Thank you.
Lee. Next, we have Calvet, California Department of Veterans Affairs.
Morning, David Lawrence, Section Chief over County Support and Veterans Housing and Homelessness Programs at Calvet. Happy to be here.
Thank you, David. Next, we have CCOA, California Commission on Aging. Okay. Next, we have CDA, California Department of Aging. Susan, Mark, feel free to introduce yourselves.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Susan DeMorris. I'm the director of the California Department of Aging, and I'm joined by at least a half dozen CDA staff. Mark, Denise, I know are in the room.
Yeah, Mark Beckley, Chief Deputy Director. Good to see everybody this morning.
And good morning, everyone. Denise Lager, Deputy Director of the Division of Home and Community Living for the California Department of Aging.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Denise. Next, we have CFILC, California Foundation for Independent Living Centers.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Okenfuss, and I'm the Public Policy Manager at CFILC. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Dan. Next, we have DDS, California Department of Developmental Services.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lucy Azralou from the Office of Statewide Clinical Services, DDS, and my colleague.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. I also am from the Office of Statewide Clinical Services at the Department of Developmental Services, and I'm Allison Giannini, Aging Services Branch Manager. Good morning.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Allison. Next, we have DHCS, California Department of Healthcare Services.
Hi, my name is Jessica Vitella. I'm representing the Home and Community-Based Services Policy Branch within the Department of Healthcare Services.
Thank you, Jessica. Next, we have DOR, California Department of Rehabilitation.
Hello, everyone. Sarah Harris. I am the chief over the Independent Living and Assistive Technology section, and super happy to be here in person.
And good morning, everyone. I'm LaCandice Ochoa. I'm the Deputy Director of the Independent Living and Community Access Division here at the Department of Rehabilitation.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Candace. Last but not least, we have SILC, State Independent Living Council.
Good morning, everybody. Carrie England, Executive Director of the California State Independent Living Council. I'm also joined by Allison Viramontes Non, our legislative specialist, who will present our portion later.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Allison. Any members we have missed and want to introduce yourself? Okay, hearing none, I'll turn it back to Cindy.
Great, thank you. So I have failed in logging into the Zoom. So I just all bear with me. I've taken a deep breath and I will move forward through the meeting. So if folks who are online, if you see a raised hand or something, just let me know. So next item on the agenda is to review the agenda and approve the previous minutes. So are there any comments or any changes that people saw in either the minutes or questions you have regarding the agenda? Yeah.
Ramon Costabon. I would like on our next agenda to get an update on the Manat report on the moving forward with the ADRC system.
Thanks, Ramon. Anything else? Okay, seeing no hands, then could I have a motion to approve the agenda and the meeting minutes?
This is Kelly. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Pam Arnsberger, I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next up is, Susan is going to present any CDA updates. And I'm really looking forward to these. Now I have to take out my notebook. So Susan, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And again, good morning, everyone. It's fantastic to see so many familiar faces and names. If I haven't met you yet, I know your names. And it's good to be with all of you and with our ADRC team at CDA in the room. So thank you for sharing part of your agenda with me. I know this is important real estate given your time, and we really appreciate the opportunity to go in depth on a topic that the Department of Aging has been working on. And I think I've got some slides. There we go. A topic that we've been working on, gosh, for at least 3 years now, and that some of you may have heard about. But with the ADRC program, as you all know best in this room and joining us virtually, that the strength of the model is a partnership between an area agency on aging and an independent living center. So that partnership is only as strong as the two parties. And so we've been working diligently the last several years on strengthening California's aging network and preparing our AAA network for the future. So I'm going to run through with you a series of slides that were presented first to our network back in August. We've shared with the legislature, and we felt it was really important to bring this to you and to allow time for any questions that you have. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide. What we're going to talk about today is the background, in case I know several of you are new to the ADRC Advisory Committee, and you might be hearing this for the first time. So you're the target audience. Apologies if this is redundant for anyone, but we want to let you know where we started, where we've been, and where we are today. And then we want to talk about the 3 key priorities for the department on a go-forward basis. This would be statewide services, the designation and de-designation criteria for our planning and service areas and our AAAs, and our funding formula. So we'll go ahead to the next slide. For purposes of this discussion, we're going to talk about, you're going to hear a lot about the PSAs and the AAAs. So the planning service area, this is the footprint. These are the geographic bounds of a AAA. We have 33 planning service areas in our state. So we have 58 counties divided according to a 33 map. And then within each of those 33 planning service areas, we have 1 area agency on aging. We'll be talking about the process to change PSA boundaries or to designate a new AAA provider within those boundaries, and the criteria. So next slide, please. Deep background. This all originated with the governor's executive order in 2019 when he established the Master Plan for Aging. We're now in our 3rd iteration of Master Plan for Aging initiatives. And every cycle, there have been numerous initiatives that relate to the California 2030 work. We set out with a steering committee made up of 5 entities in addition to CDA. It was led by CDA with a phenomenal consulting partner, Collaborative Consulting. It included the California Association for Area Agencies on Aging, the California Commission on Aging, the California State Association of Counties, the County Welfare Directors Association, and the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers. So our original steering committee had about 20 members. I think they met 10 times in person and virtually. And over the course of about 18 months, we had a very robust stakeholder engagement process. We interviewed about 80 stakeholders, local, regional, statewide, and national partners. Many of you on this call were likely interviewed. We held a half dozen webinars for the public. We conducted research and surveys, and we launched California's first ever consumer needs survey, where we heard from just about 18,000 older Californians from all 58 counties. And we had in-depth interviews with all 33 AAAs. These were one-on-one interviews. Most of them were held in person. Some of them were done virtually. At the conclusion of this work, this stakeholder engagement, we had a series of recommendations, and those recommendations flowed into legislation sponsored by the California Commission on Aging, Senate Bill 1249, that worked its way through the legislative process and was signed into law by the governor just about a year ago today. And that bill lays out in statute the three priority areas. The intrastate funding formula that dictates how these 33 AAAs are paid, the planning and service area and area agency on aging designation and de-designation criteria, and then what our statewide programs are and how we will enhance data reporting and accountability. Next slide. So you just heard a lot of process. I should have started with this. It's the why. You know, why have we been working on this for the last 3 years? It is because, no surprise to anyone here today, the population of older adults is increasing dramatically. At the start of this year, California's Public Policy Interest Center, PPIC, issued a report on aging in California. And they derived this data from California's Department of Finance. And you will see here, starting at the bottom, we've got ranging from 2% to 138% increases in our 60 plus population. What is most notable is the 80 plus population. We're experiencing huge increases in the population that is at higher risk for having a disability, for having a cognitive impairment, for a greater risk for institutionalization. Next slide. So we, as part of the Governor's Master Plan for Aging, which is our state's 10-year blueprint that takes us out through the year 2030, we're focusing on modernization. How can we modernize the aging network to keep step with change and progress, and also to prepare ourselves for 2030? That's not when things end. That's when they really take off in terms of these demographic shifts. So we're looking at how the changing demographics are impacting our AAA network. We know that the population, not only is it larger, it's more diverse, more medically complex. Older adults today in California are more likely to live alone. And as you heard, they're more advanced in age. We just had a disaster and emergency preparedness webinar with AARP. We had about a dozen people over the age of 100, and we had one woman who was 114 who joined our webinar. So it's clear to the Department of Aging, to our Health and Human Services Secretary, and to the governor that these changing demographics require updated practices. Our planning and service area map has not been updated since the late 1970s. We know things have changed, population, demographics, diversity, and we want to make sure that the maps reflect those changes. There's currently not an on-ramp for local governments to establish a AAA if and when they want to integrate local programs and services. Our core programs that are available in all 33 AAAs, these are mandated programs that are funded by the federal government. These are not new programs. They are longstanding existing programs. We lack comparative data and benchmarking to ensure equity in all communities. And our intrastate funding formula is out of federal compliance. It has not been updated in 30 years, and so we need to make adjustments there. Next slide. So I touched on this already. We won't spend a lot of time. It really breaks down for you the stakeholder engagement that has happened to date. We really got serious last fall after Senate Bill 1249 was signed into law by the governor. We started a very focused effort working directly with our AAA partners. We had a half-day strategic planning workshop with the C4A membership, and we held 9 webinars with the AAAs. So all 33 AAAs were invited to these 9 webinars, and they all had the opportunity to participate. And then as part of the webinar series, we did conduct topical surveys. So we wanted to know more about the funding formula, about the statewide services, and about the criteria for designation. Next slide. So we'll start with statewide services. This is really the heart and soul of every AAA in our state and across our nation. These are programs that are required by the Federal Older Americans Act, and where most AAA funding is directed by the federal government. The state also augments some of these areas, but for purposes of this, we're talking only about the Federal Older Americans Act programs and the funding we receive from the federal government. So CDA, in partnership with our stakeholders, we have prioritized 3 programs: home delivered and congregate meals, information and assistance, and caregiver supports. Some might ask why others were not included, including the long-term care ombudsman program. It is already a core statewide service. But for these 3 programs, where we really want to go, and you'll see in the following slides, is because they are offered in all 58 counties, because all older adults are eligible for these core statewide services, we want to be sure that there's a level of consistency and standardization statewide so that we can be assured that wherever somebody lives, they have equal access to these programs. Next slide. I preceded my, so here it's, really getting at service consistency and statewide quality. We hear reports from the field, from consumers, from providers, from contractors about widely different approaches to the work. And this is, a key element of a AAA is they are, their local area plan is intended to assess local needs and address local needs. So there will always be variation between AAAs, but we really want to make sure that there's not wide variation and that there is some level of consistency, so that if somebody is working in living or working in multiple areas of the state, they can have reliably the same general experience. We wanted to we need to identify service gaps and equity issues that must be addressed. Again, going to the local control, which is critically important. But if 2 AAAs store each other, get $100 per meal, and one of them is serving 2 meals, and one next door meals $1 each. We want to know that. We want to know why. It doesn't mean either one of them is doing it wrong. That's something we want to know about, because we need to reach the people with greatest economic and social needs in our state, and know that. then knowing that AAAs are underfunded, significantly underfunded, and as a state, percentage that explore best and promising practices and share those with the network. Next slide. So where we're moving in first year is we're really focusing on, this has been such a great period of discovery. We have learned through this 3-year stakeholder engagement process and our deep, deep research that we do not have a baseline of data. We don't have consistent reporting frequency, and we don't have performance measures. So on our first year, we're really just working behind the scenes with our AAA partners to get to that baseline, to analyze existing data, not new data. There are no new requirements. And then how can we improve that consistency and quality? After the first year, we will we'll begin this year internally with quarterly reporting and developing data dashboards so that we can see statewide how we're doing, how we're doing AAA by AAA, and we can do some of that comparative analysis. All of that in the first year. The current year that we're in is internal while we work out any bugs. And again, this is in the 3 statewide service areas: information and assistance, nutrition, and caregiver supports. Next slide. So here's an example of what a dashboard will look like. Our goal in year 2 is to make this available to the public. There's great interest on the part of consumers, understanding what's happening in their local areas, advisory committees, local elected officials, state legislators, vendors and contractors. So this is data that ultimately will be made available to the public, and to advance our equity goals as a state, as a health and human services agency, and as a department. We need this data to measure our impact. Next slide. Here's an example where we would break down just one of the topics. This would be nutrition. So we'd have a really good picture about how many meals have been served, the breakdown between congregate and home delivered, and how many providers we've engaged with. So this is illustrative of what will be available about a year from now. Next slide. In the following year, we will use this baseline data to develop with and in consultation with the AAA partners, performance measures. You know, will we look at process measures? Will we look at outcome measures? Will we look at, you know, what is it that best measures our success in each of these areas? We also, with our AAA partners, will define what constitutes high performance. We really want this data to reveal any gaps and inequities, but more so, we want it to reveal high performing programs in AAAs so we can learn from them. I mentioned we'll have these dashboards, and then this will spark, you know, what I'm most excited about: more tools and technical assistance to help our AAAs with quality improvement and peer supports. We know that AAAs can learn best. You know, we know they learn best from each other, people that are doing the same or similar work. And then we do really want to get to a place where we can recognize high performers and give them credit for what they're doing locally with their AAA councils and advisory boards and their local boards of supervisors and others. Next slide. So that was the statewide services. Now we're moving to our planning and service area and area agency on aging designations. As I mentioned, this has not been changed since the late 70s and early 80s. And we would really benefit. We've seen in other states where there are regular intervals to make updates to the network. We don't want to be in a situation where we wait for a crisis to intervene. We want there to be planning that happens at the local area, at the local level, and conversations and people to know what to expect in terms of timelines if a change is warranted. We also have some pretty general designation that needs to be more specific. And the federal government, in their final rule last year, reaffirmed that the right of first refusal for a AAA belongs to the local unit of government. And we've never reinstituted that right in California. So we want to make sure, without disrupting the network, that there's a method to do that for any local units of government who wish to provide AAA services. Next slide. So we've got a very involved process here. What I can assure you is none of this will happen until January of 2027. So we are still well over a year away from the first step in a very long process. We will accept applications starting in January 2027. It's possible we will receive 0 applications. No way to gauge interest in this until we open that process up. We then will need to consult with the Federal Administration for Community Living on any proposed boundary changes. We will need to work, for those that meet the criteria, we will need to work on transition issues, and we will then commence with a new area agency on aging to support that area. So these are sequential steps that need to happen in an orderly way. Next slide. So we will institute an application process. It will be well documented, well known, and there will be lots communicated to our network, including all of you, about that process when it begins. Next slide. So the operating entity, the AAA, there are 3 opportunities for a AAA to be redesignated. There's always the opportunity to voluntarily relinquish their role. There are unfortunate situations where there might be non-compliance and there's a de-designation, or when a PSA boundary changes, as I just mentioned. Next slide. I'm going to pause right now and just ask Wilson, do I have until 11?
Yes, you do.
Okay, great. All right. I'm going to pick up my pace a little bit. So just as there's an extensive public process for the PSA designation, so too is there one for the AAA designation. We will be looking at this once every 4 years. We're really trying to align this with our existing process where we update California's Older Americans Act state plan. So we will start this in July of 2027. Again, plenty of lead time here. If there are any changes, we will start with a letter of intent process. It will then move into a full application process, and then a thorough review and public process at the local level with public hearings, public notice, before there are any changes. Next slide. The process for becoming a new AAA will commence in October of 2027. So 2 years from now is when this would begin. And the decisions will be made by June of 2028. Actually, yes. All of these applicants need to be approved by not only CDA, but the Federal Administration for Community Living. Next slide. We now have the transition process mapped out, where we're looking at a full year to transition if there are any changes, to work locally with the community and the outgoing and incoming AAA, to give adequate time for any transition to minimize any impacts on constituents and clients, and then to have those pieces in place by July 1st of 2029. Next slide, please. All right, I think you're all going to get these slides. So here is what we will be looking for with the revised criteria and what will be important for the applications for any new entities. Next slide. Again, this will all be in regulation. So there will be a public process where we promulgate regulations with a public comment period. We take in public comment and we make any revisions before finalizing the regulations. Next slide. And here's the timeline just to give you, we're here at the top in fiscal year 25-26, quarter 2. We're not even there yet. So everything you see here will take place between, we are in quarter 2, I'm sorry. That's where we're beginning, and it'll take us through July of 2029. Next slide. So the third prong of this system change effort is updating the intrastate funding formula. So the reasons behind this are we want to modernize the formula really to account for the changes in population and demographics over the last 30 years. We need to be in compliance with the Federal Administration for Community Living. We have been informed in writing that we are out of compliance and we need to update our intrastate funding formula. And we want to be sure that it's relevant. For example, right now, our funding formula uses an equity factors from the state of Washington. And the state of Washington no longer even uses those factors because they have since updated their formula. We also really want to simplify and streamline our funding formulas. We use different formulas for state and federal dollars, and it's very hard for our AAA partners to navigate between the two, to understand, and it's very hard to explain to the legislature and the budget committees why it has gotten so complicated over time. We really want to make it simplified, streamlined, and understandable to everyone. We have had 8 AAA directors leave us in the last, little over a year. And so we're seeing, tremendous turnover in leadership at the AAA level. We can't expect people to understand something from the 1970s and all of the steps along the way. We really want to bring it current and modernize it for current leadership and future leadership. And then, of course, what we've learned since in the last 30 years is we want to better align aging and disability. We want to adjust for income, especially the missing middle or forgotten middle. And we want to reflect current trends in population growth, diversity, and geography. Next slide. So we'll talk here now about the formula that is being proposed on how we will allocate dollars in the future to each AAA. Next slide. So first and foremost, every AAA will receive a total of $250,000 in base funding. This is an increase of $100,000. Currently, they receive $150,000 a year. So we're acknowledging that the administrative burden on AAAs is increasing. So we're increasing that to $250,000. Next slide. We're establishing a carryover policy. When and if all of our AAAs do not spend their full allocation, we need a policy, a consistent policy in place where those dollars get reinvested in the network. So we're setting that threshold at 90%. So if anyone spends under 90%, those dollars will get reallocated to the AAAs that have spent 90% or greater of their funds. Next slide. So these are the new proposed factors and weights. In the middle column on your screen, you'll see what we currently do. That was last updated 30 years ago. On the far left, the part that's highlighted in yellow, this is what we're moving forward with. There will be 5 factors applied. Each of them will have equal weighting, 20%. The first factor is how many people 60 plus reside in this planning and service area. The second will be how many people in the planning service area are low income. And you'll see here, we're bumping that up a little higher. We used to use 125% of the federal poverty limit, which is very low income. We're now moving it up to 200% to account for the high cost of living and for individuals who are not eligible for Medi-Cal but have needs. The third factor is looking at U.S. Census data on race and ethnicity for the 60 plus population. The fourth is a new factor that we're adding, the population 60 years and older living with a disability in the planning service area. And the fifth and final factor is the 60 plus population who reside in a geographically isolated area. So you'll see we're slightly increasing that from 16.7% up to 20%. Next slide. So we've broken this down by, looking at these 5 factors, which parts of our state have the highest and lowest concentrations. So we really want to make sure that this is equitable. So you will see it plays out where in some areas it advantages some planning service areas, in others it disadvantages them, but in the aggregate, we believe this is a really well-balanced formula. Next slide. Again, we want to apply this to all funding sources. This will be federal dollars, state dollars, and if in the future there's ever anything like the COVID funds that we received, it would apply to that as well. Next slide. We're also looking at how can we mitigate those who might be more negatively impacted by others. So we are going to look at a way that we can mitigate the change. Next slide. So we're going to look at phased allocations and distributions. For instance, if a planning service area is to receive a reduction, it will be phased in over 2 years. So they wouldn't take a hard hit at one time. And likewise, if they see an increase, it would be phased in over 2 years. And there will be adjustments because these are new factors, new weights, and there haven't been adjustments in 30 years. So we do expect initially for there to be some increases and some decreases. Next slide. So in terms of the funding formula, similarly, we have a timeline that takes us into the fiscal year 29-30 when this would all go into effect. For this, we will need legislation and approval by the Administration for Community Living. So CDA does not have the authority to make these changes independently, but you've just seen what it is we're going to be moving forward to the legislature and the Administration for Community Living. Next slide. So each of these 3 priority areas have their own timelines. So statewide services, designations, and funding. All of this takes us out well into 2029, 2030 to correspond with the governor's master plan for aging and the original title of this work, which is the California 2030 Initiative. Next slide. All right, so we're very proud that all of this work from the outset is available on our website. On the CDA website, there is a California 2030 page. It includes all of the webinars, the reports, the surveys, the recordings. So please take a look there if you have an interest in this topic. We also have all of the state statutes and regulations here, as well as the federal requirements for you to take a look at. Next slide. And then finally, going back to that last one, if you have any questions on this topic, one more slide. I think if you advance the, whoops, there we go. We do have an inbox. So if you have any questions about anything I just said, please send your questions to our inbox. We're currently working on an updated FAQ, a frequently asked questions. So we will include your questions there and report out on recent questions as we've begun to share greater detail with the community. And I'll stop there. A few minutes for questions if we've got time.
Susan, thank you. That was great. I know there's a question in the room. Ramon has a question, and then folks who are online, if you raise your hand, somebody will tell me who it is.
Great.
Okay, well, a comment and then a question. A comment is, what about housing? It seems to me, since they drew up these priorities decades ago, the situation has fundamentally changed around housing in California and the need of people aging and people with disabilities to even get a roof over their heads before they can get any of these other services in a meaningful way. So that's just the comment. The question is, okay, so we got all these moving parts here and formulas and extra money here and less money there. Where does this leave the ADRCs? Are any of them going to get cut as a result of this proposed formula, or are they going to at least keep what they've got?
Good, yeah, good questions. Thank you about housing. Unfortunately, at this time, the Older Americans Act does not fund housing supports, and this is limited to the Older Americans Act. To your second question, the reason we're sharing with you today is there's a strong nexus between the strength of a AAA and the ADRC, but for purposes of California 2030, there's not a formal link. There's nothing about what I just shared that will cut the ADRCs. That funding is flat at $10 million distributed among emerging and designated ADRCs. So there's nothing here in this proposal that focuses on federal Older Americans Act dollars that directly impacts the ADRCs. Having said that, we are focused on information and assistance as one of our primary focus areas, and there's quite a bit of overlap there with the ADRCs in terms of INA and referrals. So we see strengthening that core statewide service in the AAAs will lift all the boats.
Carol, I so appreciate you actually raising your hand because I can see it. So it looks like Carol has a question.
Thank you. It's Carol Leash. Thank you, Susan. You were talking about changes in the Older Americans Act. What major changes do you foresee?
You know, at this time, we've not seen any changes to the federal Older Americans Act. At the federal level, all of the programs and funding, it's not been reauthorized. That's a big problem. But for the time being, we're under a continuing resolution. And as you know, the federal government is shut down and there's action that Congress could take. But all of the programs and services that the Older Americans Act has historically provided are still being provided. and at the same level funding, not increased and not reduced.
What changes would you like to see then?
Well, I will, there is some talk that the Older Americans Act is quite the list of programs and services. And in our data research and analysis, we found, and this is why we're moving in this direction, there are some flagship programs: nutrition, caregiver supports, information and assistance. We really want to go big on those because that's where the greatest need is. That's where most of the funding goes. It's not at the expense of the other programs. Those are all still required and still funded. But what we hear from consumers, Carol, is they don't know how to compare apples to apples and what to look for. And some of the programs in the OAA receive such limited funding that they're barely noticeable in the community because they have such limited numbers or impact. And so we really want everyone in the state to know when they hear the word AAA that they can get senior nutrition, information and assistance, and caregiver supports. They can get a lot more than that, but for starters, they can get those 3 statewide services.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Any other questions? I have one, Susan. Thank you for the information in making the distinction between the ADRCs and the information and assistance. I am curious, I know by changing designations that it could potentially change the ADRC relationships. And first question is, how are you thinking about that in what that looks like and how the conversations you have? And then the other thing specifically around INA, since you're gathering all this data, I'm wondering if you're looking at the data, you've got the data from the ADRCs around INA, and you've got the data from AAAs that are non-ADRCs. I'm wondering if that is a leverage to try and get additional dollars to continue on the growth of the ADRC.
Yeah, I like how you think, Cindy. These are all questions we're asking ourselves. And for anyone who is attending the California State Association of Area Agencies on Aging, C4A conference in November, Denise Leiker will be presenting on INA and all of our research there. What I will say is you gotta crawl before you walk, and you gotta walk before you run. And in some ways, the enhanced INA at the ADRC is running, and we're not running with INA in every AAA around the state just yet. So we're really focused right now as a department on strengthening that INA service in all 33 AAAs, whether they're an ADRC or not. We really want to make sure that we have strong INA statewide. It is required under the Older Americans Act. It's funded, and that's really a focus. That's a focus of California 2030 and SB 1249. Also, when it comes to the data collection, there are we continue to struggle around data collection with the ADRCs and AAAs, and in terms of duplicated and unduplicated, and really understanding when it comes, when does INA end and enhanced INA begin, and how can we confidently say that the state general fund dollars are all going to ADRC and the federal dollars are all going to INA. So, it really varies depending on the setup, if it's the same team in the same office or if it's remote. But, these are things we're looking at. We welcome your input as an advisory council on this topic. I would encourage any of you here that are at that C4A meeting to go to that session on Friday about INA, because they're inextricably linked.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I had one. Are we gonna get the PowerPoint? This is Melissa, from Sacramento. Hi, Susan. Are we gonna get the PowerPoint? Did we say that already? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks for that question, Melissa. We also have a webinar at the end of this month. Our process has been, we really worked closely with our AAAs. That's our client in this work. And then, of course, it's not limited to AAAs. So we're now sharing this with other interested parties and contractors and vendors, and of course, our ADRC partners. So there will be a public webinar at the end of this month on this topic. I'll put that in the chat for you. If you wanted to learn more or you wanted to share that with anybody to let them know what's going on, I'll put that in the chat.
Thanks, Susan. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the updates. Okay, I am going to turn it over to Denise to do an introduction.
Yes, we're gonna tag on one more CDA update. We have a great opportunity that she happened to be here today with us. I want to introduce Faye Gordon, who is our new state ombudsman. So I'm gonna turn it over to Faye so she can say a few words to everybody and introduce herself.
Sure. Hi, thank you. Nice to see all of you. I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to introduce myself. I am the new California State Long-Term Care Ombudsman. This is my 4th week in the role, and I'm really excited to be here and working with the 3 different PSAs in their long-term care ombudsman program on advocating for residents' rights. Really admire the work of the ADRCs, and I'm so glad I happened to be able to listen to this presentation because I've heard different presentations about California 2030, and I feel like the more you hear, the more it comes together. It's like, I need to hear this a few times, and it makes more sense. So prior to this, I was with the Administration for Community Living and had the opportunity to work with Denise and Susan as the regional administrator, and I'm just thrilled to be part of state service now. So nice to meet you all.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you could join us.
Thank you.
Ramon.
Are you here from DC or?
Oh, no, I'm based, I'm working in Sacramento.
So ACL had a shop here or still has a shop here?
So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I was the representative in the San Francisco office for ACL, but in the current presidential administration, there was a decision to close those regional operations.
Right, now that's what I understood. So I was going, oh, ACL, they still exist?
Not regionally.
Not here.
In DC, but yeah, not in.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, a very important program. I thought utter catastrophe.
Thank you. I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, has Letty joined us?
She is not.
Okay, just we'll continue to check. So next up are the ex officio partner updates. You've got about 4 minutes if you can do it in 3 because we're a little bit over time, but I think we're good. So up first is California Association of Area Agencies on Aging.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Lee Pullen, Director of San Mateo's Aging and Disability Services here, filling in for Christina Mills, our Executive Director. We wanted to report out a convening that we held in August, and I'm struck by Susan's comment a couple of times that our ADRCs are only as strong as our AAAs and our ILCs, and that is so true, and that's in part of why we came together. We realized that we had never come together as AAAs and ILCs, so we did. 3-hour online conversation, August 20th. And we came together to just talk about how we strengthen our network as ADRCs, what about the future of our ADRCs, and what are our common goals. It was a very rich morning. We had sections starting with the history of ADRCs and how they came about nationally and across the state. We had an ILC and a AAA talk about the philosophy, value, and roles, the difference between ILCs and AAAs. We had the same kind of cross-representation on another section called Why We Value the Model, what we see as important to our communities and to our clientele. Then we heard from a couple of AAAs and ILCs around relationships and partnerships and budgeting and how it's all can be done, how it is all kind of done differently. But really the crux of that is having a close 50-50 partnership, no matter how you have it structured in order to be effective. And then we had a couple of breakout groups talking about how we can strengthen and advance the ADRC network and what our policy, our priorities and strategies might need to be. From that, we concluded that we need to form some work groups to do look at our legislation, advocacy, and education of the community. And also we saw a need for peer partnership between our organizations. I would clarify that this gathering was about 55 people, and it was intended for AAA and ILC executive directors, managers, and ADRC managers. We do plan on a second convening in February, and we're very hopeful at that time that our CDA and Department of Rehabilitation partners and colleagues and contractors will come and join us for that. So thank you, Cindy.
Thanks, Lee. So, and full confession, when Wilson was doing roll call, I was trying to get online, so I didn't always hear who was here and who's not. So I'm just going to go through the list, and you can let me know if folks made it in. So next up is California Department of Veterans Affairs. Okay. Next, California Commission on Aging. Okay, all the rest of you who are on, you can get all your 4 minutes back.
Good morning.
Oh, there we go.
Good morning, Ben Howdy, Commissioner with California Commission on Aging. Can you hear me okay?
Can, thank you.
Thank you. I have a few updates. I'll start with the governor appointed 3 new commissioners. We're excited to welcome them. Some of them may be familiar to you. We have Michael Costa, former C4A Executive Director. We also have Katie Selinsky. She's the inaugural Executive Director of the Cal Savers Retirement Savings Board. And Dr. Lindsay Yorman, a practicing geriatrician and professor with UC San Diego. So we're excited to bring their expertise to the commission. We're currently recruiting for a legislative and policy manager. The final filing date was extended to October 23rd. Our next meeting will take place at the C4A conference on November 5th. We'll be there for the conference, and it'll be a joint meeting with the TAC. While releasing a report soon, we will be releasing a report soon based on our May 22nd informational hearing that was entitled Rebuilding Lives, Disaster Response and Recovery for Older Adults and People with Disabilities in California. And Commissioner Chair David Lindeman will be presenting the report during the opening of the C4A conference on November 5th. So you'll hear more about that report then. We recently partnered with ADRC in a statewide recruitment drive, inviting Californians 60 and older to support youth that are ages 6 to 17 through weekly virtual conversations that build resilience, reduce loneliness, and strengthen communities. Under this initiative, adults 60 and over can enroll now, complete a brief training and a background check, and then be matched with young persons for age 30, for a 30 to 60-minute video conversation once a week. So we're excited about that intergenerational partnership with ADRC. That concludes my report.
Great, thank you very much, Ben.
You're welcome.
Next, California Foundation for Independent Living Centers.
So I will go ahead and present on behalf of Dan, who did have to step away. He had one short announcement to state that we are pleased to announce the appointment of Lisa Hayes as CFILC's next executive director, which will be effective Monday, November 3rd, 2025. As many of you know, Lisa Hayes is a member of our ADRC advisory committee, so we extend our congratulations to her.
Excellent. Then California Department of Developmental Services.
Yes, thank you. So I want to report out on a recent panel discussion that DDS partnered with the National Task Group on Intellectual Disabilities and Dementia Practices, and it was on advances in biomarkers and anti-amyloid therapeutics, and actually had close to 500 people register for it. It was international registration. So I'm going to hand this over to Allie.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Lucy. I also just want to lift up that the National Task Group on Intellectual Disabilities and Dementia Practices has a free webinar on November 17th, which is going to be a practical webinar to learn how to use the National Task Group Early Detection Screen for Dementia. And Dr. Lucy will actually be leading that webinar and providing that training. So really excited about that. It's capturing observations of change. And then also on the front of the Bridging Aging and Disability Network grant, the grant co-led between CDA and DDS, and we have entered into our final federal fiscal year of this grant, and we are very excited about the work that's being done. And I just want to lift up an appreciation for our CDA partners and that they captured an opportunity and made a proposal and received awarded the proposal for the 2025 State Advancement Lab, which does not provide money, but it provides subject matter expertise hours, which is a really wonderful thing that we'll be supporting with a curriculum, which we are going to leverage for direct support professionals who work with older adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So we're very excited to be partnering with CDA on this and leveraging this for our grant and the master plan for aging. And this direct support professional training will also be part of the DDS DSPU University platform that's going to be coming online soon, probably in tier 2 or 3. So we are excited about these advancements and just so appreciative of our partnership with CDA and all of the great work we are doing together. Thank you.
Thank you both. Next up, California Department of Healthcare Services.
Hi, we do not have any updates at this time, but if there's any specific questions for DHCS, those are welcome, and we can take those back.
Thanks. California Department of Rehabilitation.
Hello, everybody. Very simple and sweet. I want to wish everybody a happy National Disability Employment Awareness Month, or NDEAM as we call it. There's still a couple of things that'll be coming up at the end of the month, and I'll share that with Wilson and Ellen so they can share it out. Some webinars and things to highlight the importance of employing people with disabilities. Also in November on the 20th, we will be working in partnership with our Social Security Programs Unit to put on a webinar for consumers and other partners to educate them about independent living centers and that they're out in the world and here to help. And so that's really exciting. We'll be joined by ADRC committee member Larry Gravel and others to really educate the community on what we got going on, which is awesome. And that's all for me for now. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah. And then last but not least, California State Independent Living Council.
Hi, everyone. This is Allison Veramontes-Nan. I'm the legislative specialist for the SILC, so I'll be giving our updates on behalf of the SILC. First update is in regards to the federal shutdown impact. With the federal government shutdown, there's a lot of uncertainty right now across the independent living network, and especially for the SILC. For now, we're continuing with business as usual. However, if the shutdown drags on and we don't receive our Title 7B notice of award by the end of November, we'll have to make some difficult decisions about how to function without staff. In that situation, SILC staff would need to seek other employment, and the council itself would be responsible for carrying out the duties handled by staff to ensure continuity of operations. The ILCs will be able to draw down their federal Title 7C awards through 2026, or so we are being told at this time. The SILC is continuing to monitor the impacts of the shutdown on the ILCs. We have some updates regarding SILC appointments. The SILC has submitted names of recommended candidates to the governor's office for appointment. If all are approved, the SILC will be fully constituted. In regards to new leadership, Susan Rachi is our new chairperson. Shannon Coe is serving as vice chair, and the ILCs have selected Brandy Blue as their ILC representative on the SILC, and we're excited about that energy and direction this new leadership team brings. For SPIL and the State Plan on Independent Living and the needs assessment, the SILC is developing a new needs assessment, which will help guide for the next state plan for independent living. Our current SPIL runs through September 2027, and planning for the 2027-2029 SPIL is beginning now. That work includes setting goals for the independent living network, determining the 7B allocations, and establishing outcomes, measurements, and timelines for the next 3-year period. And lastly, going forward, all SILC meetings will be held virtually to help reduce costs and maintain accessibility. The next full council meeting is scheduled for December 9th through the 10th via Zoom, and all that information will be available on our website. And that is all the updates I have for you at this time.
Great, thank you very much, Allison. We are approaching our break. We are a little ahead of schedule, which I will take because Ramon, you got a question.
Well, could I ask Allison if she's still there? So you're saying that at the end of November, there's no more staff at Silk? Is that what I heard?
Yes, at the end of the direction that we have been given is that at the end of November, if we'll have to make some difficult decisions, and Silk staff would need to seek other employment. The council would still be there, but they would be responsible for carrying out the duties that we assist them with that are normally handled by staff.
So what kinds of services would be affected?
So we don't do any direct services, but we oversee the SPIL. We do the committee meetings, the full council meetings. All the details would probably be best answered by our executive director of all the things that we do. But that was basically the information that I was given. So if the government shutdown is still going and we're not able to access Title 7B funds, then that's the direction we would have to take.
Thank you. No, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Okay, we are up for a 10-minute break. My phone says, and it must be true, it's 11:22. So coming back at 11:32. Okay, I'll give you 3 more minutes, 11:35.
We are muted.
Most people ready. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I apologize, I am late to my own meeting. So up next is we are spotlighting ADRCs, and I'm gonna turn it over to Ellen.
Great, thanks Cindy, and good afternoon, everyone. Before we get started, just briefly introduce myself. My name is Ellen Michael. I am the chief of the ADRC section, so I work alongside Wilson and with our ADRC staff to help support you, to support our ADRCs across the state, as well as the facilitation of this committee. So really looking forward to speaking with all of you this morning. As those of you who have attended this meeting regularly know, we typically like to spotlight an ADRC at some point in the meeting to kind of show some promising practices that are taking place throughout the state. We're taking a little bit of a different turn this morning. As you may or may not know, depending on how closely you work with your ADRCs, back in July, we did have our consumer experience survey due to CDA. And so instead of spotlighting a specific ADRC, we're kind of spotlighting all of the ADRCs across the state to report out on some of the outcomes of that consumer experience survey. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Many things going on. There we go. It did work. Perfect. So really briefly, just to give kind of a background of the consumer experience survey, the purpose of this survey is to support your local efforts, or ADRCs rather, local efforts to gather feedback directly from the consumers that they serve. The consumer experience survey understands how ADRCs are creating positive outcomes for individuals. They're measuring the impact in helping an individual improve or maintain their choices of independence, identifying community needs, and this is through a standard set rather of questions that are provided to the consumers at the local level. A little bit of background about the consumer experience survey. It was originally developed in 2021 as a direct result of the ADRC Advisory Committee Data and Outcomes Work Group. So if any of you were involved in the work of this committee at that time, you will remember these conversations taking place. I think this is a fun place to share out these results because the whole origination of this survey came from this group. And so it kind of is a concrete way to show the impact that this group has at a state level. The first survey was rolled out to our ADRCs following the 2023-2024 fiscal year. So this is our third iteration of receiving these surveys. The requirement is for each designated ADRC to submit 50 of these surveys to CDA by July 1st of every year. So obviously, most recently, it was July 31st, 2025, and the data captured is for fiscal year 2024-2025. So I'm going to just share the outcomes of our quantitative measures. It's an easy one to take a quick snapshot of. We are obviously limited on time, but we are still analyzing the entire survey. I'm happy to share the results in a little bit of time of the entirety as well. For those of you who have worked with this consumer experience survey, there are 5 quantitative questions that ask the consumer to rate their response from agree to disagree. It's a Likert scale, so there are also variations in between these two. And so what we have here is the outcome of the individual questions. The first question, my interests and needs were discussed. This most recent survey showed an agreement rate of 95.93%, which is a 5.73% increase from last year. This is a strong upward trend that reflects ADRC's ongoing efforts to ensure person-centered. Our second question here, I was treated with courtesy and dignity. There was a 95.81% increase. 95.81% agreement rate this year, which is a 1.37 increase from last year. This is a consistently high outcome and reinforces that clients feel valued and respected throughout their interactions. Question number 3, I have more information and choices because of the services that I received. 84.42% of consumers agreed with that statement, which is a 1.2% increase from last year. This shows that ADRCs are providing clear information and is really a very high level. We'll go into the final two questions here. I am more confident that I will be able to manage my life better because of the services / assistance that I received. 82.1% of total respondents agreed with that statement, which is a 0.58% increase from last year. And then finally, the last question, the services / assistance that I received improved my health, safety, and or well-being. 81.53% agreed with that statement, which is a 4.19% increase from last year. That's the most significant gain that we noticed across the 5 questions. And it just shows that ADRC services are having a measurable impact on the quality of life. This survey helps to show kind of more than just the service numbers, but really the impact on the day-to-day lives of our consumers or that the ADRCs are serving. And so it's really important data that we feel helps to tell the story of what ADRCs are doing statewide. So that is all that I have to report out on today. I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are the results public somewhere?
They are not public as of now. We're still internally reviewing all of the came into us in July. There is a lot of qualitative data included as well, so that just takes a little bit more time to review.
Will it be made public?
Defer to you, Wilson.
I think we'll eventually after we do the analysis and stuff like that, we'll see if it makes sense to release it publicly, or even just continue sharing it in this advisory committee forum, which is a public meeting as well. So
thank you.
We'll see what the best venue will be to share information.
Thank you.
Ramon.
Do we find out, because we just came up with these 3 service areas earlier today, which of those get the most questions or requests?
So I'm going to take a step back to kind of provide a brief overview of what data we collect on ADRCs currently. We do collect quarterly data, which is more demographic and outcome data. So just kind of more of a count of how many consumers received what level of services. And again, that comes in quarterly. That's our CDA 7029. This is a separate survey that works directly with consumer, as the name says, I guess I should say, the consumer experience. And so their thoughts and feelings on the services provided. It doesn't necessarily count which services those consumers received, but more so their feeling about their interaction with ADRC.
So we wouldn't know, for example, to what extent people want nutrition services.
Not from this survey, and that I believe we do not actually collect that data for ADRCs, just because it's not one of the core services that's outlined in the ADRC charter.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions from folks online?
I see 2 hands from the public, which we will receive those questions and comments at the end of the meeting. So we'll just keep this open again to panelists.
Okay. So for those, I want to make sure you speak softly.
Sorry.
That's okay. For folks from the public who have questions or comments, we will take those at the end of the meeting. Any others? Okay. Ellen, thank you. That was great information. Next up is an action item. I am super paranoid about earthquakes. My chair was moving. We had an earthquake yesterday, the day before the Loma Prieta. So I am so hyped. I'm attuned. So let me know if we are having an earthquake so I can get under the table. So next up, committee charter revision. If I'm hoping folks had an opportunity to go through this. We made some changes, not significant changes. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I am assuming everybody has had the opportunity. I thought what I would do is highlight the items that we did change. So if you go to page, and can we,
Oh, yes.
that would be awesome. Page 3, the top of the page, we had made an addition to membership composition, and that the advisory committee memberships comprised of volunteers and shall be composed of 19 representatives with voting rights. Kept 4 with independent living centers, 4 with area agencies on aging, 5 with consumers of long-term support services and caregivers of those who use long-term support services, and then other organizations within the long-term support services system. The language we added was preferably direct service organizations. And then I will go through the changes and then we can open it up to any discussion. Then if you go down that same page, at the beginning of the paragraph, representatives for other organizations may include individuals representing a direct long-term support service provider organization. And that was the addition, and then the rest of it is and or that have extensive knowledge and experience in healthcare, veteran services, mental health services, disability services, long-term support services, housing, homeless services, and or, we added or other relevant areas. And then the next change is really not substantive. We had referred to other organizations and we just put that in quotations. And I think, oh, then toward the bottom of page 3 under term limits, it starts the piece that's always been there. Members are appointed to a term of 2 years and must reapply for consideration to serve another term. What we added was members are limited to 3 total 2-year terms. And then I think, yep, that was it for the changes. So open it up for any comments or discussion. Ramon.
What's the thought behind term limits?
The thought behind term limits is that was a heated, not heated, it was a debate. And there's pros and cons, and the thinking of it is there are always pros and cons to term limits. We want people to have opportunity to come onto bodies. Sometimes it's nice to have a new perspective onto bodies. And then it also gives an opportunity for people who are interested can always step down. I mean, who are no longer interested can always step down. But I think the idea was more to allow for a more flow within it. Thoughts?
Well, I would say in the legislature, we're throwing away experience.
True.
And I would think this might be another venue where that would be valuable. That's my comment.
And it is a good comment. I've re-educated legislatures many times. Wilson.
This is Wilson with CDA. I think it might be helpful to kind of share a little bit of tidbit information too in regards to the recruitment and applications. So I think the last 2 recruitments that we had approximately 40 to 50 applicants that have applied, but there's 19 seats on the committee with 4 different categories. And so I think going back to Cindy's point about just giving opportunities for others to be able to provide their experience and knowledge to the committee as well.
I see a hand. I think it's Ben.
Yes, good morning. I just wanted to mention the San Bernardino County ADRC Stakeholder Advisory Committee includes the local Medi-Cal health plan in their committee. I just wanted to mention that's been a great collaboration and very helpful to have the plan to be able to share resources available from the plan, what the plans can offer, and just that coordination that can happen between plans. And so I just want to encourage folks to consider healthcare as being a huge part of health and safety, and to see how we can possibly consider this for healthcare organization to be part of this group, and or at least definitely every ADRC. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Awesome.
This is Wilson with CDA again, and thank you, Ben. I echo that sentiment as well. And so as part of our recruitment, we have actually shared the recruitment with our Department of Healthcare Services partners, which are the ones that oversee, the Medi-Cal program and such. And so they have, shared it with their Medi-Cal network, which includes health plans. So thank you, Ben, for that suggestion. We'll continue doing that in the future as well.
I think it's also, I know that when we get the announcements like this in, we also shoot it out to our entire network. So I think that for some of us who are more and more working with health plans, that also gets added too. Any other comments, suggestions? So Ramon, I'm going to go back to you. Are you making a motion that we change it, or is that a comment?
Oh, that was a comment.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, if there's no further discussion, this is an action item. So can I have a motion to accept these updates to the committee charter? Got one motion. Do I have a second?
This is Kelly. I second.
Okay, I've got a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Seeing no opposition. Pam, was that an opposition? Yeah.
She's saying no.
No, okay, thank you.
No, absolutely not. I just wasn't ever sure anybody can see all this waving. Do you want us to use the reaction button? So it's, electronic?
Oh.
The thumbs up? Or whatever.
I think it's near your name. I'm not on Zoom right now because I could never get on, but I think it's near your name under participants to raise a hand. But
oh no, I got it. I just wondered if you wanted us to use it because nobody seems to use it. I mean, I'm happy to use it.
You can use a hand raise, or you can use your hand raise, or you can just say aye.
Aye. Okay.
Oppositions, because that is where that needs to get recorded sometimes. Okay, then the motion carries. Thank you all. Next up, also an action item, and we're going to take a look at the committee work plan, and that one I will. Sorry, way too many things open on my computer. So we did finalize it. I thought I would go through it at a very high level, see if there's any discussion on it, any questions about it. So looking at, Ellen, you're working on it? Okay. So this is the advisory committee work plan for fiscal year 25-26. So it goes from July of 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Goal number 1 is to increase capacity to serve more people by expanding the ADRC network statewide. Objective 1.1 is enhance and implement ADRC designation criteria and processes. The piece for the advisory committee activities is review and provide feedback on criteria revision. Provide suggestions on stakeholder input, public comment, provide input on statewide implementation, and provide input on critical extended partners. This is CDA led. It is to be determined because it needs to be in alignment with CA 2030. So this is one we keep on here to track more than anything, but that is part, it's attached to CA 2030. Objective 1.2, educate outreach to non-ADRC affiliated AAAs and ILCs in efforts to expand the ADRC network. For CDA, it's implement education outreach. Examples are newcomers webinars to non-ADRC affiliated AAAs and ILCs. The advisory committee is to develop education outreach plan and approach, identify speakers to outreach to non-ADRC affiliated AAAs and ILCs. This is a date for by June 2027, and it is a combination of the committee and CDA led. The committee work group members include Carl, Kelly, and Carol. Next up, sorry. Is goal number 2, increase public awareness of and access to ADRC services by creating one public portal. Objective 2.1, update ADRC vision, mission, and core value statements. This is something we will discuss later on in this meeting. CDA will review committee recommendations and consider implementation when resources are available. We are in a resource poor time these days, so a lot of these are, we're doing the best we can with what we've got, but some of them we are watching. The advisory committees to provide recommendations for updating ADRC vision, mission, and core value statements as foundation for creating a California-wide ADRC identity. And the second activity is explore if the current ADRC brand is resonating with stakeholders, consumers, and how we can increase engagement statewide. This one, for goal number 1 is timeframe is by June 2026. And that one is committee led. And then the timeframe for exploring the brand is to be determined. That one is also will be committee work. That one is probably, we haven't gotten into it. We worked on vision mission first. So the group members for this one include Erin, and a huge shout out to her for taking the lead on this, Lisa, Joe, Carl, me, and Kelly. And just more to come. I'm very excited about that part of the agenda today. Goal number 3, support continuous quality improvement and innovation initiatives, including training and technical assistance. Objective 3.1 is establish standard ADRC training plan, curricula, and technical support in ADRC core components, including person-centered practices, options counseling, intake assessment, and other core components. CDA deliverables, finalize ADRC learning objectives, number 1, and number 2, evaluate and recommend trainings already developed outside of CDA to determine if they meet ADRC learning objectives. And then number 3, identify additional learning opportunities and next steps. Advisory committee activities provide input on learning objectives. Number 2, assist in evaluation of non-CDA developed trainings. And 3, provide input on additional learning opportunities and next steps. For number 1, it's already been completed. The date was April 2025. Objective for number 2 for the deliverables is by January 2026. And then for number 3, it's in identifying additional learning opportunities. That is by June 2026. It is CDA led, and then the committee work group has not been identified yet. The second objective for this goal is reactive. No, that's not what it is. Reactivate promising practices program for peer-to-peer sharing of experiences and effective practices used to develop and advance the ADRC model. CDA is to implement peer-to-peer sharing opportunities. Advisory committees provide input on opportunities for peer-to-peer sharing. Timeline is June 2026. It is CDA led. Goal number 4, maintain compliance with program requirements. Objective, the first objective within this goal is update and enhance monitoring policies, procedures, and tools. CDA deliverables there are 2 of them. The first is review service data and consumer experience survey data provided by local ADRC partnerships. The second is update quality review policies, procedures, and tools as required or needed. ADRC Advisory Committee activities, we have 3. 1, provide recommendations for adjustments to quality review policies, procedures, and tools. 2, review and provide input on aggregate data submitted by local ADRC partnerships. And 3, provide recommendations on additional ADRC metrics for measuring performance. Time frame is ongoing, and this is CDA led. Goal number 5, partner with stakeholders, internal and external. Objective, there's 2 objectives in here. The first is develop and implement Medicaid administrative claiming, also known as MAC, process for supporting ADRC and no wrong door system functions. CDA deliverables are develop and implement Medicaid administrative claiming for local ADRC partnerships to participate, and provide MAC updates and stakeholder engagement opportunities. The advisory committee activities, we have 3. 1 is review updates on MAC development. The second is provide input on MAC development. And the third is provide input on communications and stakeholder engagement opportunities for ADRC partners. Timeframe, pending review and approval from state Medicaid agency and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and this is CDA led. And then the second objective under this goal is explore Medicare reimbursements for funding local ADRC partnerships. This is mostly committee led. And by mostly, it's all committee led. Research, and our job is to research and recommend implementation strategies for community integration reimbursements available as part of the new Medicare physician fee schedule. The timeline on this is by June 2026, and it is committee led. The committee work group members include Lisa, Larry, Abby, and me. And that is it. Do I have any questions or comments from everyone? Anyone? Not everything. Yeah, come on.
On publicizing, I'm working on some other areas where we're trying to reach the aging population. And I looked up social media use by people 65 and older. And Facebook is way up there. That's one thing we've figured out how to do. Is there any thought about exploring social media as a way of reaching the senior population?
As of what part?
To tell them about the ADRCs.
Right, and so is that part under one of these goals?
Yeah, there was, I think it's number 2.
I think it is number 2.
Yeah.
I think it's worth looking at. I know that our communications team at work always uses Facebook to reach our population.
And it works.
It works.
Yeah, so.
So it doesn't work on me, but it works
Right.
on everybody else.
Right. No, that's interesting, because I just, why aren't we doing that? We worry about social media affecting everything in the universe right now, and, the whole election process being messed up. And so I looked up, well, what do 65-year-olds look at? And, Facebook, I am there. I know a lot of people who are there. Why, there's gotta be a way.
So I think there is a way. I think it's worth a conversation to have, because it also requires, it's not just one, it's not your own Facebook page.
No, you gotta have a
right?
strategy for getting
Right.
posted everywhere.
And getting it out and all of that, but it's absolutely worth a conversation. Any other comments? Yeah, sorry, Melissa.
Sorry, it's
Just
okay.
this way.
Melissa, how do people get assigned to a work group?
You volunteer.
And so when does that happen? Or is there, because there's some that don't have committee members.
So that one, usually it comes about as part of the conversation we have of the work that needs to be done on it. So that is one of the things for the one that doesn't have anybody yet. It does need to be a conversation. Actually, hold on, let me find it. It's a great, because as I was, it's to be determined, the support continuous quality improvement and innovation initiatives. Considering we've got a deadline on here by January 2026. I think maybe what we can do, well, before we approve it, I would love if there are any volunteers for that committee.
I would volunteer for the CQA committee.
Excellent. Any other volunteers? Ramon,
Medicare.
Medicare volunteer, okay. I just asked if I wanted you to take my spot. Okay, so we've added Ramon to Medicare. We've got Melissa on the quality improvement. Do I have additional folks for quality improvement? This is probably how I ended up on Medicare because it felt like people weren't volunteering.
I would help with quality improvement. Pam Arnsberger.
Very much. Carol, are you volunteering?
Yeah, for the quality improvement.
Excellent. Any others? Okay. We'll start with 3. We'll raise it again next meeting when we've got more folks here. Thank you all. So now that we've filled out some of our committees, any other questions or comments?
Hey, Erin here. Just to piggyback on what Ramon was saying, could we also add in, or just as a comment to say, as you were noting that your team uses Facebook a lot, I think that a lot of our ADRC partners and everybody, they're doing analytics on the best way to reach our target audience. And that might be something that we can share as a workshop or maybe add under training. I do think that there is a need to really look at that and share our best practices and analytics.
Great suggestion, Erin. Ramon.
Yeah, because how come you go on Facebook, certain people manage to get their things in your face every time? What's the trick they know? Couldn't we learn that trick?
I understand. I used to be a COO for a digital marketing company, and it's really just testing copy. It's looking at a lot of analytics on the other side of the dashboard. So most likely Cindy's team, as an example, they have a lot of really cool metrics, and anybody else that's killing it out there as far as getting their conversion rates. It would be great stuff to share, and I'm happy to decode this more if we get into that kind of work group from an educational standpoint.
Cool. Okay, I see a hand.
And hello.
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that I teach analytics in my class, and I would be happy to dig into the data and help in any way that I can.
That is awesome. Thank you. Carol, I see your hand.
Yeah, well, besides Facebook, what about other social media?
Okay, full
That's the question.
I was chewing and didn't hear the entire question. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, besides Facebook, what about other social media such as LinkedIn?
Ramon.
Well, I cheated. I went to the Pew Trust. They have, social media access by age group. And, everybody else is on everything else. But then when you get down to 65 and above, it was Facebook and one other that I can't remember. But then somehow we're idiots when it comes to every other way of getting on, communicating with social media.
YouTube is something to consider, and it does depend on the target audience. Like certain media platforms are more robust depending on the age and the demographic and the needs. So those are all things that can be explored when we look at analytics and best practices.
Okay.
But good point.
Social media is affecting so many things so powerfully. It seems to me like we ought to be able to figure some of that out ourselves.
Great.
Can I make just one more, circling back to goal number 3, which is the continuous quality improvement, the training goal. As you can see, the second objective for the ADRC Advisory Committee is assist in the evaluation of non-CDA developed training. This is something that I'm just going to put out to the group. If anyone within our advisory committee or any staff members of yours have taken specific trainings such as the BU Cater training, the Inform USA training, the CTI training, we're looking closely at those and would love some feedback on, members outside of just the CDA staff on those trainings in terms of external?
I've taken BU cater trainings and my whole team has.
Okay.
And I think it is really good, especially when we are enrolling new staff members for ADRC. It gives you clear distinction on what a person-centered care is for a person, how to transition, how to do INA, what resources to connect to. It was very detailed, and then there's also, because it's do it on your at your own pace, it's really good with that. And you also have a grading system there. Like there are some questions that you have to answer, so it also brings out that inner thoughts from you too, which are commented on then by the teachers. So I think cater is really a good thing, and we should continue doing that. Like we should get funding for new staff as we enroll them.
So can I add you to this work group? So
Okay, sure.
welcome to the club. It's great feedback.
Any other comments?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Could I just jump in with my hand?
Yeah, sorry, could I just jump in and not raise my hand?
Yes.
I would echo what the prior speaker said about the BU training. I just want to know that I believe that training is a lot in terms of number of hours required. So it is very good from what I hear, very thorough. And yes, people can go at their own pace, but it does require quite a bit of time.
I would echo what the prior speaker said about the BU training. I just want to note that I believe the training is a lot in terms of number of hours required. So it is very good from what I hear, very thorough. And yes, people can go at their own pace, but it does require quite a bit of time.
Good to know.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you have a set of questions that you're using in evaluating these trainings that we could take back to our team? Because all three of those trainings we described, we have put our team through. And I would like to hear from them.
Absolutely. I think you bring up a good point, Liz, about having a standardized kind of evaluation of each of the training that we can then open up, hopefully, to the advisory committee group. We don't at this time, but with this group that we have voluntold and volunteered to, that's something we can absolutely work on creating. And then hopefully in the coming meetings, we can echo what Erin and Cindy are about to do and present to the committee as well, just in relation to this goal specifically.
Another benefit of the Boston University Cater system is that they have additional modules that you can subscribe to if there's, so for example, we were having increasing requests where it involved behavioral health issues. And so we subscribe to the behavioral health module, and everybody is taking that right now.
Great. Great suggestion. Okay, so then this is an action item. Can I have a motion to accept the plan as we've now added and amended it? Motion. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
This is Erin, second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now I am very excited. I'm going to turn it over to Erin for an introduction. And while she is introducing, as part of this, we are going to have a survey that I will hand out to the folks in the room. For everybody else, you will have one online. Go ahead, take it away, Erin.
So, are we able to bring up the presentation, Ellen?
And while Ellen is pulling that up, I want to thank members on this, and I want to really do a huge shout out to Erin for all the work that she spearheaded this with. So
Thank you, Cindy. It's been my pleasure. So as a lived experience representative, as somebody who's a gerontologist and also a graduate student in healthcare, I am really passionate about advocacy and ensuring that we continue to get funding. So when I jumped into this project as a chair, I did some quick research, and really what I was focused on is how do we make this new mission, vision, and values be plain language, simple language, and really resonate with policymakers, with the legislators, with their staff, so that it's really easy for them to understand what we do, as well as our communities, our our consumers, their caregivers, their families, their loved ones. And I felt that if we could resonate our mission, vision, and values with those two groups first and foremost, that everybody else in between would be able to pick up what we were putting down as well. So we spent a lot of time as a work group. Thank you to the whole work group, really looking at what we have now, where we want to go, how we want to make this work for us to be able to walk into an office and advocate for funding and advocate for more older adults and people with disabilities to get the services they need with additional funding, whether it's with partners or other collaborators. So now that we have the presentation up, thanks so much, Ellen. If you could go to the slide that's titled Public Sector Best Practices for Brand Management. All right, great. So just to reiterate what I've already shared, I went into the literature, like, how do I do this? Like, I've been in marketing and branding most of my career, one way or another. And so I wanted to make sure that I was guiding this process to the best of my ability with the literature supporting me. So here's some clips of what I've done and what we did as a work group to really understand how to move forward with getting the drafts that you guys will vote on today. And so keeping it emotionally resonant, simple, easy to understand, all of those things came through. And I think one of the things that I learned, besides the similarities that I'm seeing in public sector and private sector brand management, is really that the values are much more for our internal partners as much as we're going to be focusing on taking out all of the services and actually doing the mission and vision work and getting there. So before we head into the survey, we're going to go through and read everything, and Cindy's going to take it over from here. But I just want to ground and center us. And when you're looking at these, please remember that the vision statement is meant to describe our destination, where we're going long term. How we look at the mission is it's the car, it's the vehicle as to how we're going to get to that destination. And as I noted, the values are what we're all doing in the car while we're on our way to do the mission and the vision. And from there, Cindy, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Erin. So what I'm going to, and you can continue on into the CDA ADRC brand review, I'm going to read the current vision, the current mission. We do not have current core values. And then we are going to go through with what the work group came up with potential. There's two vision statements, two mission statements, and you all are going to take a survey and vote on one. For those in the room, we've handed out paper or sent you, and for those online, you will, Ellen figured out how to do it in Zoom. You're going to take the survey through Zoom, and there may be those of you who are on the call who are not members of the committee itself, we want you to take the survey as well. We want everyone to take the survey because it impacts everyone. And if you're interested to attend the meeting, even though you're not on the committee, we want to hear your input on this. So first off, the current vision statement as it is right now is every community in California has a highly visible, reliable, and universal access point that provides information and facilitates equitable access to long-term services and supports for all Californians, older adults, people with disabilities, caregivers, and families. The current mission statement is to provide a coordinated, person-centered, no wrong door system that helps older adults, people with disabilities, and their families access the long-term services and supports they need to live independently and safely in the setting of their choice. So now we are going to go through the survey. We're going to go through it and then have a discussion once we get through all of it. So the first is the vision statement. And as Erin said, this statement represents our destination. The first choice is California's ADRC envisions a future where aging and disability services, together with families and caregivers, form a welcoming network of support, so every Californian can quickly find the help they choose and thrive at home. The second choice is empowering every the second vision statement choice is empowering every Californian to age and live with dignity, independence, and connection through a seamless network of support that honors choice, embraces diversity, and strengthens communities. So for those, Ellen will pull up the survey through Zoom. And so for those in the room, if you could vote.
Mark this with a pen or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Here, you need one?
I got it.
Okay. I feel like I could throw a pen.
I was just thinking, I was like, that would have been interesting.
Wouldn't have had a prayer, but I would have given it a shot.
Yeah, at some point, we'll be able to discuss our vote or why.
We'll have a conversation. We want to
Okay.
we're conscious of time, so we do want to do it, but we also very much want a conversation. Okay. So hopefully everybody's ready. So next is the mission statement. 1 more minute? Okay.
Or
I
10
don't
more
want to rush
seconds.
you.
10 more seconds.
10 more seconds, okay.
I'm watching the timer. We'll give everyone a minute.
Oh, it's on the timer?
Yeah, that was a minute, so we can go ahead and.
Excellent. Okay, so the next is the mission statement. And as Erin said, this represents how we reach or accomplish our destination. The first option is we connect older Californians, people with disabilities, and their supporters to the right help at the right time by coordinating community partners, simplifying access, and following up. The second option is we activate community partners to deliver plain language information, guided navigation, and timely solutions that fit each person's choices and circumstances. Ooh, hard to see. Do you have any extras? I didn't.
That was a minute, so we'll go ahead and.
Okay. and then the core values statements. So the values represent collaboration of ILCs and AAAs providing no wrong door programs and services. The core values that we came up with are access, independence, dignity, choices, and community. With the idea of the brand training, we always look for acronyms and things like that, is together we aid the access, independent, and dignity, AID, choices, and the community. I'll say that again. Together we aid, choices, and community. So as part of the survey, the first is, does this feel that the values of access, independence, dignity, choices, and community represent that collaboration, yes or no? Then the second part is, if you say no, is there a value you want to add? And you can put that in. And the third is, if there's a value you would like to have removed, you can put that one in there, of the 5 we've given you. Hopefully that makes sense.
Should I send this to you, Ellen, or you?
Sure,
Tally
yeah,
has
so, yeah,
everything.
that works, and then I can pass it off to Cindy and Erin.
What if, what if you wanna add, not leave?
You can. You can, that is what the second one we debated, you know, surveys are hard. You can absolutely just put in an additional word in there,
Oh, okay, on number 2?
in number 2.
Okay, because it said if you selected no.
I know.
Okay,
We
just check.
yeah. Erin and I were laughing yesterday, we could have spent an hour trying to figure out how to reframe questions.
Sure.
So yes, you can hit yes and then add a word if you want.
Minutes. Okay. Give a little bit more time, it looks like the answers are still coming in.
Okay, I'll give it a few more seconds.
I think we've received all of them, so I'll go ahead and end that poll as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we thought we would open it up to discussion. As part of the slide presentation, I'm gonna put in here questions, comments, and concerns about vision, mission, or values. Also, as part of the PowerPoint, if you have additional thoughts or other feedback as you think about it, Erin put her email address in here. The group is going to come back together, the work group will come back together and take all of this information and the responses to the survey, and we'll bring it back to this group. So I think you can stop sharing, Ellen, if you want, and we can open it up to discussion. Ramon.
Okay, so on vision statement 5, just I'll go one at a time. Well, the first one, you know, thrive at home. A lot of people can't do that. And that doesn't mean we don't care about them or we're not going to give them advice. So I would think that, you know, that to me kind of is why I voted for the other one.
Okay. That was vision.
Yeah, that was under vision. I just was struck by the phrase turn, drive at home, as if that's the only option.
Okay. That's good feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that brought me out too, because coming from independent living, we're always like in your own home, in your own place. And I still believe that, and that's what I want for myself. But through the course of my work at Agency on Aging, I have found that there are a lot of older adults who don't want that for themselves. They would rather live in an environment with more support. And
The happy medium, right?
So can I ask you a question, you both? If we had, instead of saying and thrive at home, would you have voted for the first one if we had left it with, so every Californian, I cannot say Californian today, my tongue is just, so every Californian can quickly find the help they choose? Would it have changed your vote if it hadn't been thrive at home?
It's hard, go ahead.
Maybe, okay.
It's hard to, on the spur of the moment, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, it definitely made me vote for the other one, just because I saw Thrive at Home, and I didn't know stop. That's
Okay.
not, that doesn't work.
That'll help us when we come back and have conversation. Ben, and then Carol.
Just want to clarify, this mission, vision, and values is for this committee, right? The work that this committee does for ADRC, AAAs, and ILC, is that correct?
Yeah, I think the whole idea behind it is ADR, it's part of the branding, right? This was the first thing, you have a vision, mission statement in an overarching branding of ADRCs. So that is the intent of it.
I'm wondering, when I first initially read it, it sounded like maybe we were providing the services. And so I'm just wondering how we can change it to, we are supporting the ADRC network, right? Our mission is to, yes, it all trickles down, right, to the local community and the older adults and people with disabilities. But at our level, I'm wondering if we should be more broad to say we're supporting the network for this purpose, but it's about the network, not necessarily the people. I mean, it is ultimately, right? Just a thought, something to consider.
So you raise an excellent point in who is the target audience on this. And I think, and Aaron, you put this together, so I'm curious what is in your brain. In my brain, it is an ADRC branding itself as opposed to a specific committee branding. We are looking to increase and to improve ADRCs throughout the state. And so I looked at this as the ADRC overarching brand as opposed to a committee brand.
Got it.
And is that how you approached it?
Yeah, and I really appreciate you bringing up that point, Ben. It's when I was looking at this is the same way that you are, Cindy, is we already have, like, the people that make up this committee are all people who work in AAAs, ILCs, and all the external partners that support the same set of consumers. So when I thought of this, it was more like, how do we represent the partnership of AAAs and ILCs in the community so that we ensure that the funding that trickles into all of our organizations to serve these consumers, it still is intact. And then when people visit our state-based website to find help or to find their next step in whatever challenge they're facing with the aging process or aging into a disability at any age, it's something, that resonates. So they get, oh, I should go find that AAA or that ILC immediately. So that's where these statements are coming from. And it was my understanding that that's what we were focusing on, was just representing the partnership of how we do these services and why we're doing it and why we're all coming together as a committee to improve our processes in the local community.
Thank you.
And I think the thing that Aaron had comment on this night, Aaron, in your introduction, you may have said it, is this is something you can take if we are advocating on behalf of ADRCs, you can take to state legislators and say, this is what ADRCs, this is who we are.
Yeah. So when you asked Ramon the question that if we ended it right at where it says help they choose, would it be sufficient? I think the only reason I picked the second one was because it says honors choice. But the first one does mention California's ADRC, but the second one doesn't mention ADRC itself. So I think that honoring the choice would make us person-centered, and that is something that's missing from the first one.
Thank you.
I have a comment. This is Melissa. So I chose the second one, but I edited it a little bit.
Okay,
Can I read it?
you can read it.
So I made it say so the vision is every Californian ages and lives with dignity, independence, and connection through a seamless network of support that honors choice, embraces diversity, and strengthens families and communities.
Nice. So you're gonna hand that in?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. I appreciate the creativity and all of this feedback that we're gathering through the Zoom polls and on your surveys, we'll be taking back to our work group and analyzing the data and utilizing it to go to the next version of our drafts. So I really appreciate everybody pitching in. The stakeholder engagement's a necessity for us to get where we're going. So thank you.
Cindy, it's Carol. Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Okay, when I think of dignity and voices, I think of empowerment. And personally, as a consumer and in my speaking, I focus on attitude, importance of attitude, or even positive attitude.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Okay, I won't force thoughts. So as we mentioned, there's email in the there's email in the presentation. If you have some afterthoughts, please feel free and we will discuss when the group meets again. If you lose the presentation, you can also send it to Ellen and Ellen will make sure we get it. So last call for comments, questions, ideas. Great. Thank you. I want to thank the co-team members as well. Okay, I got all excited about the vision mission and lost my agenda. Okay. So that more to come. We will and as we mentioned in the timeline, the goal is to have this done by the end of this fiscal year. I think that is what it is. So next up is summary of action items, which I always look to. Oh, Ramon.
So, that was the whole thing. I thought we were gonna talk about the other questions.
Oh, we can.
Oh.
That was open to all of them. So if you have others, I'm sorry, I should have clarified. Yes, we are open to comments on all of them. Go for it.
Okay, I did get to interview all the gubernatorial candidates 2 days ago, the Democratic side, except for Villaraigosa. But I asked them, what as governor are they gonna do about making long-term care more effective, safer and more affordable? Safe and affordable, those are the words I kept using over and over again. And it seems to me that even the Democrats have figured out affordability is something you should be asking about. And so, in terms of what, I think, part of our mission might be is affordable care, because that's getting to be a bigger and bigger problem. That was my comment. Sorry I didn't make it before.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
The mission statement, in the second mission statement, there is some language used that I think it's ironic that it starts with delivering plain language information. Because I think guided navigation isn't a well-known term, right? So it's less clear, timely solutions. It just seems like there's some subjectivity to some of these definitions. If this is a statement of how we accomplish what we do. And I didn't know that, because you know that plain language is a term of art, right? It means a certain kind of written language or spoken language. There are people who have expertise in plain language because you can keep it. Yeah. And I think that that's a laudable goal, but I didn't know that that was one of the things that the ADRCs were focusing on, was trying to get all our community partners to use plain language. So that was new to me. So yeah, so I chose the first one because there were things in the second one that I thought were not universally understood.
Yeah.
Good feedback. Ramon.
I'll second that on the term navigation. I love the word. I think it's the perfect word. It's so poetic. However, I tried to describe this to a relative of mine who's been doing policy work very effectively for the last 50 years. It took me 10 minutes to explain to him what I thought navigation meant. It just didn't resonate. I mean, in policy circles, in our policy circles, it works, but I found it was a hard term to explain.
Interesting. We have terms that are only known to us,
Yeah.
or they mean something else entirely to somebody else. And so that's interesting. That's good feedback.
Yeah, both of these are really great feedback. I really want to get us away from agency speak. So thank you.
Anything more on mission? Anything on core values? Ramon.
I would just add the term, you asked for extra words. I suggested safe and effective. To me, that's bottom line. That's what you want for your loved one.
Were those additions or were those
Additions.
replacements?
I didn't see either one of those words there. And, you know, to me, as a person that comes out of health policy world, safe and effective are things you want in your care.
Absolutely. There is part of the conversation we had as well is the longer your list, the harder it is to remember. So that keeping in mind as we go back through it. Any other thoughts?
Just to elevate some of the voices in the chat, Ben made some statements, vision statement, a community where older adult people with disabilities and caregivers can, so starting it off that way. And then for values, he included safety, health, and wellness.
Okay.
Somebody else pick safety, huh?
Ben, you came off mute. You want to add something? Okay. Anything else? Hey, thank you. This is, as Erin said, this is really helpful. So for those, you feel free to put comments in the chat online. And for those with paper, feel free to put comments on the paper and we will gather everything up. Okay, now I'm going to move on. So I'm turning it back over to Wilson for a summary of any action items.
Yes, hi, this is Wilson, CDA. I have 4 items that I've noted down. One is to send out the CDA's PowerPoint on the CA 2030/SB 1249 initiative that Director DeMores have presented on. Second is to distribute and post the updated committee charter that was voted earlier. Third is distribute and post the finalized 2025-26 committee work plan that was also voted on earlier. And fourth and last is to share the mission, vision, values, and recommendation summary with the committee. And that I'll defer to Cindy and Aaron for that.
And I think Ramon had a request for agenda item. So.
Yes, follow up on the Manat report.
Yeah.
I thought that was money well spent. I guess we spent money on that, right? And it looked pretty good. And I said, well, so now what?
Okay. So future meeting dates. So were you waiting for that one for a possible agenda item? Sorry, Wilson. So we've added that to an agenda item. So next meeting is January 16th in 2026. It'll likely be another hybrid meeting. And so for those who can come in person, I highly encourage it. So would love any other potential agenda items that people may have. Folks online, any ideas, any thoughts? In the room, any thoughts? I won't be here. You won't be here. Okay. Hold on, pause please, because I want to. It's kind of a vague one. Maybe we could think it through a little bit. I had an thought around here around just taking a, in part of Susan's report and taking a look at the data. And you mentioned it too a little bit, Ellen, around what is collected and what is, I just kind of diving into it a little bit more because I think there's value in the data that we collect, but it's not just for us in getting on the idea of vision and mission and that of how we can use it also going forward and what maybe we should be collecting. And I have not sussed it out in my brain a little bit, but just, it feels like we're in such a tenuous time that I want to make sure we are gathering, we've got information, we're armed with information with scarce resources. Ben, I see your hand up.
Yes, just a suggestion, if this topic hasn't been covered in the past, maybe just exploring how do we incorporate health into all of this? How do we partner with health plans? How do we ensure that the services that are available or not available is being discussed and identified and addressed? And just again, expanding that ADRC network in the local communities, I think is very important to include health-related organizations. Thank you.
Great. I'm wondering if maybe we can get first some of the ADRCs that are partnering with health plans, maybe pull together folks to talk about what's working, what's not working, and that type of thing. That's great suggestion. Any other ideas? Okay.
Do the work groups provide updates?
The work groups do usually provide updates.
One other question, I'm sorry. Subcommittees, are any of our subcommittees going to be meeting? What's the plan there?
So now I'm going to look to you all. We started with you all on this one, but it was led by us mostly. I know you all are short-staffed. What works on some of this?
I think for the ones that are CDA led, we'll convene these work groups or subcommittees when it would be beneficial to do so. Because I think there needs to be internal work that needs to be done before we convene and get stakeholder input. And then for the committee led ones, I'll defer to Cindy, you and Letty on when to convene those. And CDA would be happy to provide administrative support for convening those specific work groups.
Okay, I will go back and take a look through it and we can go from there, because we can, and I want to connect with Letty as well. So in figuring out kind of what makes sense, I'm in at least one of them. There's at least one that doesn't include either one of us right now. So I'll circle back with Letty and then get back to the group. How's that sound? Excellent. So then there also, I want to, and maybe Ellen, if you could put it in the chat. We're always looking for feedback on how we can improve both the committee and the meetings and what works, what's not working for you all. And so there is a SurveyMonkey that you all can use. It's for the panelists and the hosts, and Ellen will put it into the chat. It is all, is it on?
So Lydia has already placed it in the chat. Thank you, Lydia, for doing that. But there is a SurveyMonkey link included in the chat.
Okay, so for those who aren't in there.
We can send it out following the meeting as well. Yes.
I just clicked on the link and it said that I had already taken the survey. I couldn't take it again.
Interesting. I wonder if that's because of the last one. Let me look into it, and we will just double check to see. Apologies if there is a technical glitch, but we can send that out following the meeting as well.
Great. So then we will follow up with the survey monkey. And then for those who had comments from the public, we are now up to public comment. And happy to hear from you if you are still online, or it's in the chat, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you could raise your hand if you are a member of the public, I will go ahead and announce your name and then allow you to unmute yourself and provide a comment. Again, this is a comment, and so we ask that you try to keep your comments within about a minute, just to give everybody enough. The first person who has raised their hand is Brittany. So Brittany, you are welcome to unmute yourself.
Hello, this is Brittany. I will just go ahead and read what I typed into the Q&A. So this question was actually raised at the executives meeting last week. However, I'm bringing it here because there was no action or resolution. It was noted that for the 2024-25 ADRCs in California, we left $1 million on the table. That is 1/10 of our statewide budget, and in my opinion, not acceptable. My request is that given the current climate and knowing that ADRCs are funded by general fund dollars, we are no longer relying on, quote, good intentions that ADRCs will fully expend, and rather that CDA will implement a structured process for quarterly budget reviews and redistribution of funds. There's a model that already exists at the state level, and I'm happy to provide a direct connection to the program that implements this and support these efforts however needed. Thank you so much for your leadership and support.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks, Brittany. That maybe we can also talk about that, because that came with Susan mentioned that about reallocation, and I know that happens to a certain extent. So maybe we can take a look at that. Thanks, Brittany.
Next, we have Maria Skelton. Maria, feel free to unmute yourself and provide your comment.
Yes, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me well?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, this is my first time attending this meeting. It was very great. I want to say thank you for all of the input and everything that I learned. I put my information in the chat. That way so I can get emails and updates of your other meetings, committee meetings, and so I can continue to be active and know what's going on in the meetings. And thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you, Maria.
Okay, any other public comment?
Yeah, we have just a comment in the Q&A that I'm happy to read on behalf of Nicole Estes. For those on Zoom, as a consumer, do you open it up for discussion? And I believe that was relating to this conversation now. And then she stated, I want to thank the ADRC.
Okay. Well, then, seeing no more public comment, No more committee member hands. Thank you all. Truly appreciate everybody's attendance and participation. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I always want someday for someone to say, I don't want to end. Sorry. The motion carries. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you very much.